Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name's Shania, and this is going to be my vlog for the month of October. This month I was able to get out of my very first creative slump, and I hope you enjoy watching all the progress I made for this month of October. So the month of October officially marks my second month of doing ceramics, and I think I have reached a point this month where you kind of get over all of the newbie gains where you're learning so many new things all at once, and you start to kind of stabilize a little bit as you fall into your own little routines as you're learning a new skill. And even so, I think there's still so much for me to learn, since I would say I'm very much still a beginner when it comes to ceramics. But after the newbie gains and all the excitement of starting something new starts to wane, I entered my first period of kind of being in our artistic and creative slump. And maybe it was just the clay I was using. Honestly, it was super hard because this bag of clay started out when I began ceramics in August, and it was a mix of reclaim and not properly re-wet clay, so it was really tough to work with, and it might have really contributed to this art slump. But I did feel a little bit frustrated and kind of at a plateau with my skills. Now, I was still really struggling with a lot of the basics, but as I was grappling with a mental routine of how to throw a ceramic piece, I was feeling like nothing was coming out right, and that my vision for the pieces I wanted to make was really not matching up with the skills that I had. And when I think back on other hobbies or skills that I was picking up throughout my life, when I would reach this kind of plateau, I think it used to really scare me, because I would run into this mental loop where it felt like, okay, I feel like maybe my natural talent or ability is kind of up here. And in the past, I think I would kind of run from the idea of showing up and practicing, even though I was making things poorly, not performing well. But I think, thankfully, once again, being a little bit older, I am able to really think through that and realize that it's just kind of a natural thing when it comes to learning something new, and it's not something that I should feel ashamed of, and honestly neither should really anybody, because it's super natural to feel these feelings, and the only way to really work through it is kind of trust in the fact that time will pass and I will get better, and more practice will just make me better, and running away from practice is what's going to start that loop where if I don't practice, then I don't know how bad I am, and if I don't know how bad I am, then maybe it'll save me some embarrassment. And I might end up convincing myself that the thing I'm learning, or I could have in this situation with ceramics, convinced myself that maybe it's just not something that I'll ever be good at, and I should move on to something else. And throughout the month of October, in my level 2 classes, I really focused to throw much taller and even cylinders, and at the beginning of October, I was still really struggling with how to do that because my wheel speed and my pulling speed were definitely out of sync, and I also was really scared for some reason to push too hard and destroy the clay. I think it kind of coincided with the art slump, not wanting to mess up and start over and kind of trying to avoid making mistakes. But throughout each and every one of the pieces that did make it to 6 inches tall, I normally would cut it open just to see how I was doing, and as always, learning from the cross-section always helps me get a lot of information on how I'm throwing and how to improve for the next time.
Looking very good.
And the month of October also marks the start of my membership at the ceramic studio that I've been going to. And so I would go to the studio pretty much, I think, 4 times a week. I would go a couple of days after work and then one time for class throughout the week. And then I would spend quite a bit of time on the weekends practicing at the studio. because as the holiday season comes around, I decided that this year for my group of friends that I'm going to be making everybody a ceramic handmade gift. And so I really wanted to get as much practice in as possible so that I could refine my skills and be prepared to make, I think, over 6, so maybe 6 to 8 pieces for my friends and some of their partners. And I really wanted to do this year because I think it's really fun to make things for my friends, because I'm always kind of the person who likes to do handmade crafts, and being able to share them with friends and give them something functional and useful seemed to be something really special that I wanted to do for them this year. And I think my friend group and I are about to hit, I think, over 5 years of being friends. I think we started being friends officially as a group since 2020, and we've all been through so much together. So I think it's really nice to be able to do something extra special for everybody this year. So if you're one of my friends listening, just know I have, and I'm really excited to make these gifts for you. I have gone ahead and sketched out all of the designs that I want to make for each of my friends, and I asked all of them kind of what they would want, and especially like the shape and function of the piece. So for one friend, I'm going to be making him a beer mug. For another, I will be making 2 matching mugs for him and his girlfriend. I'll be making 2 matcha bowls for 2 friends, and then one friend I'll be making him a planter because he just moved into a new apartment, and it's kind of going to serve as a Christmas and housewarming gift because he also recently got into plants. And on another note, while I'm at the studio, I'm normally listening to audiobooks or the full track list for an album, but one really notable audiobook that I finished this month was for a book called The Shadow of the Wind, and it's a Spanish novel that's been translated into English, and the audiobook was so good. Now, when I listen to an audiobook, I'm normally pretty picky about what the narration sounds like. It really kind of makes or breaks it for me if I'll continue to listen, but this book is so rich in its imagery and its writing style that if you're looking for a mystery romance novel for this fall season, I think The Shadow of the Wind is a perfect read. I think the novel came out in 2001, so it kind of makes me sad that I'm only finding it now, but it was probably one of the best book recommendations I've been given by a friend. So shout out to my friend who recommended it to me, but if you're looking for it, I highly recommend it, whether it be just the English translation novel or the audiobook itself. And as I entered the middle of October, I think all the hours of practicing and showing up at the studio, even though things weren't going the way I had expected and wanted to, led me to being able to finally start to throw consistent pieces that I was actually really happy with. And starting from October 18th, that's when I felt like, oh wow, I think I can actually like make things that I really want. And part of it might have been due to the fact that I just finally finished all the really hard and dry clay that I was using, and finally opened a fresh new bag of clay, and it made a world of difference when it came to throwing, because it made me put in so much less effort and force than what I was using previously, and it honestly threw like butter. So if you're struggling with really dry clay, and if you can, I would do the method where you put all the clay in the bag, spray water into the bag, and submerge the entire thing in a bigger bucket and just let it rehydrate for a couple days, because I did do that for some of the clay from this new bag and it helped it retain its softness so well. So if you're struggling with hard clay, I definitely recommend using that method to just make your life easier, because working with super dry clay is very, very difficult and really discouraging. So if you want to avoid that, I would just do yourself a favor and re-wet your clay. At this point in the month, I was finally able to get a grasp on how to manage my speed and pressure to pull more clay up without puncturing or throwing things off center. And I think that was another part of throwing on the wheel that was really hard for me, was being confident in pulling the clay up and taking my time with this wheel not going extremely slow. At the very beginning of the video, I looked back and I saw that my wheel was going very, very slow, and that is what made it really easy for me to throw the clay off center and make the rim really wobbly. So here I can see that my wheel is definitely going a bit faster, and I'm able to just shape and pull with so much more confidence. And I wouldn't say that it's perfect, but definitely a much bigger improvement from the very beginning of October. And throughout this pottery journey, something that I am really enjoying is celebrating the little wins every step of the way, because I think also in the context of my life, normally I would only celebrate the very end or the result of anything that I would try to accomplish. And I really enjoy celebrating the little wins along the way, because it makes it so there's just also like less pressure on myself to be perfect. And that's something that I always go back to when I think about what I enjoy the most about doing pottery, is that in this hobby and craft, you really just have to embrace the fact that so many things are going to go wrong. There's just so many things that you really can't predict how it'll turn out. For example, I just got back a couple pieces from the kiln, and one of the pieces that I had glazed with a white glaze had this green hue on the outside, and my pottery instructor told me that it might be because a piece that was fired next to mine was green and the color flashed onto my white piece. And that's just something that I could have never anticipated would happen, and it makes me frame how I run these projects that I want to do with a lot of intention, and reminding myself that things will go wrong, but that's completely okay, and to do my best to plan but not get caught up in all the little things that go wrong. And even with that piece that had that green flashing on it, I still really liked it, and even though it's not exactly what I had envisioned, I still learned something, and all the little lessons along the way will always, in the end, over the grand scheme of time, add up to me just having so much more knowledge about the process of making ceramics, which is something that's really invaluable to me. And an aspect of pottery that I also really enjoyed this month was that I spent a lot of time trimming my pieces and learning how to make things as smooth and finished, so that when it came into the next stage after the bisque fire, that the pieces wouldn't be so rough. That's something that I noticed in all the pieces that I have gotten back from the final glaze firing, is that at the very bottom of all my pieces, the feet on the pieces were a little bit rough. And so I'm hoping that with the extra care and time and attention that I put into these new pieces, that they'll be very smooth, especially since I'm going to be gifting these to other people's. I'd really hate it if I'd accidentally cause them to scratch up their countertops and whatnot. So I really try my best to make sure that by the time I finished trimming, they were really finished and smoothed out. And this brings us to my best throwing day in October. I think I threw probably 3 pieces this day, and I think what made it the best was that I felt so confident on this day when I was making my pieces. I went in with the intention to throw some bowls, and I was able to do that and make things that I was really happy with. Now, unfortunately, even though I did feel really good about throwing this day, and looking back on how I used to throw at the beginning of the month, I did end up throwing these pieces a little bit too shallow, and later on when I was trimming them a couple of days later, I did chew through the bottom of one of them, and I was really sad about that because it was the one that I liked the most out of this day, but that's okay. I am glad that I made more than I needed, and I will be using these pieces to test some of the designs for the matcha bowls that I'll be making for my friends. I have a couple ideas and techniques that I've never tried before, and I'd really hate to stress myself out trying so many new things on a pretty tight timeline, so I'll be using these as some more tests, so that for my friends' pieces that I'm pretty sure they'll come out the way that I expect. But even if they don't, I'm sure that they will slightly resemble what I was going for in the first place. So something that I'm really going to take away from the month of October is that in all the coming months, as I continue to make videos and go practice at the studio, is that I'll just embrace as much as I can the fact that I have to practice even when I feel like day after day I'm not making things that I like, because overall, I'm sure that all this practice will be for something, and it will never be a waste of time to try. I think that I'm really happy to see this progress that I've made this month, especially looking back at my very first videos that I've made or even my first class that I took. I am so happy to also be in my level 2 class where there are a couple people who are coming back to pottery after a really long time, and there's also some people who are more on the beginner side, and sometimes they'll ask me like, oh, like how long have I been doing pottery? Because it's not that I feel like I am a pro by any means, but I can totally remember back when I started, there were people in my class who were a little bit more advanced than I was, and I would think, dang, like there's no way that I'll be there. It'll probably take me months and months to be somewhat proficient on the wheel. But I feel happy to be able to tell some of my classmates that I have only been doing this for 2 months and that you will learn way faster than you could ever expect, and to just keep practicing, because I know what it feels like to have those moments where you're really discouraged and you think like, wow, like this is just something that I'm kind of out of my depth for. So it's always nice to look back on how far I've come and how far you might have come on any new endeavor that you might be trying, because when you look back and reflect on that, you can see that progress has been made no matter how fast or how slow. And even though this holiday gifting project is completely extracurricular to my normal life and career, I really do enjoy the planning part about the project, because I find a lot of enjoyment in making lists and making these kinds of plans. And I love making it all organized. Even though I'm not sponsored by Notion, that is definitely what I use to plan out all the projects and posts that I do on social media and for the things that I do in the studio. It makes me really happy to see myself move all the little aspects forward and also keep track of everything in a fashion that I think is really organized. So maybe one day I'll share my project planning process. So if you're interested in that, please go ahead and let me know in the comments. And so to conclude the month of October, I would say that this month was a very successful month for myself. I'm really happy to have been able to overcome my very first creative slump in this whole journey of being a content creator and being a beginner potter. I think it's really fun still to be a complete beginner at something, and I look forward to every single thing that I'm going to encounter and learn going into the month of October. And toward the ends of November, I'm going to be going to Japan for my international trip of the year. And so if you have any recommendations for things that I should eat or visit in the cities of Tokyo, Osaka, or Kyoto, I'd really appreciate that. So please let me know if there's anything that you have for me in the comments, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.